Hi, guys. Hi. Hey, Tim. Hey, Felix. It's one o'clock. Hi, Michael, Dominic, Richard. How you guys doing? Geez, I am discombobulated. I look like a refugee from Margaritaville. Let me get my shirt straightened out here. Oh, looks like I just mm, got up. Okay. How you doing? Okie doke. First of all, let me check, make sure. Is that the video and the audio okay? Everything working all right, guys? Hey, neighbor. Hi, Dominic. Andrew, good to see you. Hello from Alabama. How are things in Alabama? All is okay. Great. Thanks. Okay, guys. What I wanted to talk about today, it hot. Yeah, same here. Boy. Well, we were in a storm yesterday. Our grandson's visiting, so we went to the movies, and there's a sort of a Connecticut version of a mountain. My wife and I had been in Texas. I was an associate dean at the University of Texas in El Paso, and it was on part of this the Rocky Mountains. They were called the Franklins down there. And then there were the Sierra Madres we could see. So we came from mountains, and growing up in California where there was coastal mountains in there, the Sierra Nevadas. Well, Connecticut mountain is a little. When I first came here, I made some snarky remark about a speed bump that they call the mountain, but anyway, so we go over this mountain, and all of a sudden, it was like being inside of a car wash. It was this horrendous rain. Now, what I was concerned about wasn't the flooding. I was concerned about the tree branches breaking and things like that. And, I just got a new car since some idiot messed up my old one. So anyway, so here I am going over the mountain in my new car with my grandson and wife on the way. And so then we go up, going over the mountain, there's sort of a little side road that will take us to this other road we were going to. So we're going up there along with a bunch of other cars. And all of a sudden, there was this huge tree that had fallen over the road. The power lines were down. It must have just happened because otherwise they'd have all kinds of, lights and stuff. I thought, oh my God. So we got turned around and go around. Then I went up, there's sort of a parallel road. So I went up that, and there was all this debris all over the road. And I hit this one thing. I don't know what it is. I'm going to have them look at the underside of my car. What a day. So anyway, I'm a little discombobulated, or I should say more discombobulated than usual. Hey, Dino. From Mass. Hot. Yeah, hot it is, man. I tell you, we're in a heat wave. When I was growing up, my dad was in the Air Force, and he was stationed at Mississippi State University in Starkville, Mississippi. He was teaching Air Force ROTC there a long time ago. Hot, man. It got hot in the summertime. Whew, whew. Anyway. Hi, Di. How you doing? Good morning, Brian. Dominic. Yeah, me too, Dominic. But I would get this. Okay. Let's talk about tradition. Now, in order to talk about tradition in in watchmaking, I'm looking at my watch. This is the Etude number 1 from Larique. And I just love this watch. I love both of them, as a matter of fact. But we've been paying so much attention to the new one that I thought, well, I got to bring out my old one, couple years old. Just a great watch, great accuracy, and it has all the traditional watchmaking methods that was done by hand and so forth. Okay, so the question is, when we think about tradition, what do we mean? What is tradition? What do you guys have in mind when we talk about tradition as an important value in watchmaking? Anybody have any idea? Well, there's a reason that I thought it'd be worthwhile talking about it today. I mentioned this the other day, I think, on our live thing. I get the Patek Philippe magazine every blue moon or whenever they decide it's time to have one. And in this, they had all of the values. You can't see them, but there's a list of values that they have. Tim, do you get this magazine? You should. Big fan of this stuff. And of all the values they were talking about, they had this big thing on tradition. So let's take a look at it. Yeah, okay. So you know the one I'm talking about. I love that magazine. I mean, it was from my Calatrava that I got years ago. Hi, HP. Like brand history. I don't know. That's probably part of it, HP. This is how come I thought I'd ask you guys. Hi, Dino. Tradition and history are a big part of horology. Okay. Well, I find it very difficult to define tradition for me with watches, because certain parts of it that are not part of tradition have been embraced in watchmaking. This mainly has to do with design. And they have all these CADs and all of this other stuff that they use for design, not in the production of it, using handmade watches especially. But for the design part of it, there's a lot that I'll let pass. Other stuff I won't. So let's take a look at what Patek Philippe had to say. And Tim, you can follow along with since you have the magazine. I don't know, some of the rest of you may too. Let me show you what I got here. Hang on a second. Let me move some stuff around there. Okay, 1 second. Window, boop, boop. Andrew, okay, what do you have to say? That Patek takes tradition down the wrong path in their adverts, though. That's more than one place they take it down the wrong path. Let's take a look at this. Okay. Here's what they've got about tradition, and this is what the irony is. It says, in the world of horology, very few companies can still lay claim to the term watch manufacturer. Okay, so they're saying, all right, making their own watch is important. Now, Larique, I guess we have our watches made. I don't know if that counts or not. That is control over all stages in the making of their watches. From design to production, from assembly and finish to distribution, Patek Philippe is a true watch manufacturer. I think that's pretty true, about as true as you can get about any completely manufacturing their watch. Okay. The uniquely comprehensive nature of our production method has many important benefits. Certain traditional skills and tools which have not changed for hundreds of years can still be utilized on a daily basis. Tweezers, the small screwdrivers, those of us who are part of pretentious watchmakers also use these traditional tools. We don't have traditional skills, though. Okay. The expertise and know-how of our master watchmakers can be passed on to new generations. We can also preserve the traditional art of fine watchmaking, the criteria for which were established by the Republic of Geneva in 1886 with the creation of the Geneva Seal. This is where it gets interesting. Let me see if I can move this up a little so you guys can. Oops. Whoa, what have I done? Hang on. There. Okay, I did it again. Rats. Okay. Well, anyway, I can read the part below the picture. It says the Geneva Seal hallmark is the highest official endorsement of watchmaking quality and excellence. It certifies that all our watches have been made in this tradition. We are very proud of the fact that Patek Philippe has been awarded the Geneva Seal more often than any other watchmaker, and indeed frequently exceeds the standards set by it. Okay, all right. This is where we hit the. This is where we diverge. In the last 15 years, Patek Philippe has not received the Geneva Seal. In fact, they've received 0 Geneva Seals since in 2009, they decided they were going to use silicone hairsprings. The Geneva Seal people said, no dice. Who has been getting a Geneva Seal since then? There's 2 companies in particular seem to have gotten the majority of it. One is Vacheron Constantin, and the other one is Roger Dubuis. I think Chopard also has one, and there may be some other ones. In order to get the Geneva Seal, one of the criteria that has nothing to do with quality is the fact that it has to be done in the canton of Geneva. So it's sort of like having a state or a province. And it's an interesting thing that they would bring that up, talk about how important the Geneva Seal was, knowing that they don't get it because they broke the tradition. They broke one of their criteria. This isn't to say that silicone hairsprings are not superior to hairsprings made from transitional metals. Okay. They're made of, it's a metalloid, not a transitional metal. The only beef I have with them really isn't the quality of their consistency, of their not being affected by heat and cold and totally non-magnetic. The beef is you can't adjust them. And so if there was some stuff that Omega did that has a little box that you can adjust somewhat. I don't know if that really, how much that affects the silicone hairspray or not. I don't know. Anyway, so it's sort of an interesting thing. What do we really, where do we draw the line? My line certainly isn't the only one. It happens to be in terms of what you put inside, but as long as things work in a certain way. For example, I don't mind silicone in escapements. Escapement's going to work the same way. So I don't have a problem with that. On the other hand, silicone hairsprings don't work the same way. Now, for those who are fascinated by, it's more accurate. Well, I don't know if it's more accurate or not, but it's less prone to change from higher and lower temperatures, as well as the sort of, you get a very standard. You don't have any kind of the kind of variation that you may have otherwise. So but if you can't adjust it, you can't adjust it. On the other hand, I'm perfectly okay with using CDC in designs. In fact, I would not have a problem with no, what are they called? 3D robotics, doing cases and things like that. 3D printing. That doesn't, because that's, if it's gonna create a case, okay, that's fine. The case is not going to be functionally different than ones that are created by traditional milling. Now, even with milling, though, you got these smart computers, milling away. You got a bunch of these sort of, like, I don't know what you'd call them, sort of ready to be milled, and instead of having somebody doing the milling themselves, the old machine goes, okay, knocks them out. I don't have a problem with that either. Okay, let's see what your wisdom, okay, that you have on this. Andrew, we'll start with Andrew. See, Patek Philippe takes tradition down the wrong path in the adverse. So, really, yeah, like I said, more than the adverse. But I absolutely agree that tradition should be embraced. And no, it doesn't necessarily stifle innovation. No, that's a good point, Andrew. That's a very good point. Okay, Dino, Patek is a brand, as a brand, has to put a lot of emphasis on tradition as part of their market position. I agree. That's, let me just sort of, as a marketing thing, would it kill Patek Philippe to get, let's say, make 1,000 of a simple watch, let's say a Calatrava? They're going to have the traditional Calatrava. They'll put a Straumann hairspring in it and then call it the tradition instead of the Calatrava. And then they can have all the silicon ones they want, but, and then maybe they'll get a Geneva seal for that one that they have. But, I agree with Andrew, man. What's going on here? I got to say something too. It was sort of funny. The tagline they have, you never really own one. You get it from, you just take care of it. Something like an 1886 Waltham had a similar ad before Patek Philippe started using that. Okay, let's see what's going on. Didn't they abandon the Geneva seal? No, the Geneva seal abandoned them, Dino. They said, Geneva says, oh, sorry, the silicon hairspring's not going to go. And Patek Philippe said, no, we're Patek Philippe. We can do anything we want. That's essentially what it was. And the Geneva seal people said no. And, here's the other thing about it. They certainly don't base it on style. I love the looks of Patek Philippe. They have great style. They got great movements, really, for that, and everything about them except for that one thing. Now, if you take a look at Roger Dubuis, here they got these incredibly good movements, and I'm sure that's why they get the Geneva seal based on it, and they're beautifully constructed. But the design, they got these god awful skeletonized everything design in. There's nothing to them that is very interesting, and I wish they someone wants to fix something. Family ownership is a tradition. Yeah. Now that's an interesting thing, Dominic. what about, let's take a look at Breguet. Now, the sons of Breguets and even daughters of Breguet at some point said, gave it up. And it was bought, Breguet was bought by the Chaumet brothers. And the Chaumet brothers hired uh, Daniel Roth to bring it back. And he brought back something that not only, I think, would Abraham Louis Breguet approve of, he would say, that's an improvement. That's a beautiful watch. And so they had that until the Chaumet brothers shot themselves in the foot. And for a while, Roth was off on his own, and Breguet sort of stumbled along. Then Breguet was bought by Swatch, and Swatch, every time I see an ad for Omega, and the New Yorker always has these watch ads for Rolex or Omega, Cartier, those things and so forth. But what Swatch is doing, they say Omega Swatch. And I think that's a mistake, because Swatch is sort of seen as sort of half a kid's watch plus a, sort of a cheap watch. But they're trying to get, several $1,000s for this watch. And they're gonna say, well, that's Swatch because we want credit for it. And I think that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. Then they stick silicone in it because they're putting silicone in everything. I don't know. So I mean, where's the tradition? You end up with a Swatch tradition, which is, I don't know, cheap and fun, I guess. Okay, that's enough out of me for now. Okay, Tim Chopard mentioned Chopard. Louis Vuitton now has some now too. They do indeed. Vacheron Constantin is mostly Geneva seal, except for the entry level model of the 56. The one that they call the 56 automatic or something like that. Self-winding. They call it the 56 self-winding. Is no Geneva seal. The 56 date, I think, something like that. That's got the Geneva seal. And the difference is that the movement in the 56 self-winding is made by Val Fourier, which is by Richemont. Okay. Geneva seal adds about 25% to the price because the organization has to review the watch. Yeah, they may add something to it. Because they have to go through some process for it. HP, my definition of tradition, same family for generations, has a master watchmaker, handmade with local parts, minimal modern components. Yeah, the family-owned thing is like, I think the last of the Breguets, one of the Breguets I have the Breguet Mono Retropone. I don't know how long I'm going to have it for, but I have it now. And it was like one of the very last of the Breguet family went and got a patent on that. But the movement is by Valjoux that has added this feature of having a mono retropont to it. So I don't know. I mean, sometimes, do you really want family tradition? Reason I say that, did you guys see, they're worth looking up. Did you see the series of ads that H. Moser had? This was about, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. They had this wonderful series of these little ads that they featured Edward Melon reviewing these advertising companies. They would come and they would show them and say, well, you got to have this. And one of the things was that, you got to have the, family members of the of the original watch, and they showed some of these guys were really messed up. The reason that F.P. Journe sold a hunk of his company to Chanel, 20%, I think, maybe more, is to keep it, quote, family. All right. In other words, his son, I think his son's a pilot. F.P. Journe's son's a pilot. And, they could care less about watchmaking, except insofar as now the devices they have are way beyond the watches, traditional watches anyway. So I don't know. I think the family thing. Also, look at Pascal Raffi did with Beauvais 1822. Boy, he even bought the old family castle or whatever it was when he got Beauvais, and his goal was to bring it back as close as possible to the traditional. So it's sort of a kind of thing. If you have the right family, yeah, but otherwise, I don't know. Yeah, then you have something like this Sandoz Family Foundation, and they have their hierarchy of watchmaking. They have Parmigiani, and then they have Schur, and then they have Autoculpa that makes their hairsprings. Then they have one that makes cases. They got everything to make the watch. And so when you get a Parmigiani, not only does it have the design by Michel Parmigiani of the movement, I think they sort of moved him aside on the overall design. But then you have the Sandoz Family Foundation. Now, from what I understand, it's not been a moneymaker, and apparently they have lots and lots of money from the pharmaceutical sector of the economy. So, by the way, too, that's where Pascal Raffi made his millions as well. It's from the pharmaceutical. So anyway, I don't know about family. Is that sometimes, yeah, and sometimes, God, no. It was sort of Pascal Raffi saved the Beauvais name. Bit of trivia. I'm sure you guys don't want to hear, but I'll do it anyway. You probably know about this. Jaeger-LeCoultre. You've heard of Jaeger-LeCoultre's watches. Well, and it was like in 1770 or something like that. He married Marianne Sandoz. This is related to the Sandoz family, which is, so there's something about watchmaking in Switzerland that's almost incestuous, which makes it even more interesting. Okay, let's see. Dominic, tradition should include some handwork, including finishing. I'm for that. Di, it is kind of funny that you can lose your Geneva seal if you use silicone spring manufactured elsewhere, but it is okay to use CAD software and automated milling tools made abroad. Yeah, so there are things about that. Hey, John, printers do not allow certain type of parts. Imagine printing a minute repeater. For today, I think I told you this, there's this company that's owned by the Festina Group, which is a Spanish holding company, very much like Richemont or Louis Vuitton or one of those. And this company they have, they bought Teletime, and so they had the rights to use it, but they didn't. For some reason, they didn't have the machinery, but they have their own company that is sort of manufacturing, and the whole thing is based on nanotechnology, and so they cranked out the Teletime movements for Ophion. So I think so. Ophion has got this unique movement thanks to something other than traditional methods. Yeah, I tell you, John, with printers and font, what is it? Font making. I love fonts. I'm a big font fool. And I have no font design abilities, but I do enjoy it. Um, hey, Rancher, Archie Luxury never truly owns Patek Philippe. He merely holding on to it for the next future ex-wife's divorce attorney. Okay. Uh, Dominic Patek Philippe copped out and took the easy road. That's what they did. Yeah. They see the other thing is that they're so full of themselves. All they had to do was contact Edward Milan, and he would have been happy to sell them all of the Strawman hairsprings they wanted. Before that, they're using Navavox hairsprings or something. I think that's what they were using. But since they couldn't or wouldn't make their own hairsprings, I don't think they did anyway. I mean, they may have, but I didn't think so. All they would have had to have done, and they would have, and so they have one piece that's they didn't wasn't manufactured themselves. But so what? For years they used Fiedler hands, and that wasn't a problem. In fact, there was a big article about how great Fiedler hands were in one of these one of their magazines. He's a great magazine, by the way. I mean, it's worth getting it. That's one reason that you should go out and buy a Patek Philippe, because if you do, they'll send you the magazine. Okay. Hey, Space G95, how you doing? John, let's see. Are the Sandoz Foundation the same as the Sandoz Ibos makers old days? Probably some relation, John, but I don't know. I mean, it's sort of like Marianne Sandoz when she married Jacques Droz. Her family was involved in some aspect of watchmaking. I'm not sure exactly what part it was, but again, you know, it's hard to follow. Okay. Yeah, Rancher, I was a little late today, so we got a little more time. Okay, let's see. Um, Switzerland is like Arkansas, the Arkansas of Europe. I don't know. It's more like I think perhaps more like the Rhode Island. Lots of times, this is from Dominic, the business that started a family wealth ends up as one of the smaller fish in the basket. Yeah, that's another good point, Dominic. I think, in fact, the whole watch thing that the Sandoz Family Foundation put together was more like almost like an extended hobby. Said, we've got this great watch collection. Why don't we start a watch company? Here we got this young guy, Michel Parmigiani. We'll have him make watches for us, and then we can make a little money. Well, I don't think they may have lost a little money, or they may have lost a lot, but they seem to just want to get out of the watchmaking business right now. I don't know what they will do, but Hermes owns what 25% of Baucher. Maybe they'll sell them the other 75% and be done with it. There are a lot of these luxury companies are, I think, have a lot more influence in keeping the whole thing alive than a lot of people realize. Andrew, let's see. Speaking of 3D printing, Newcomer Hotchkiss has gone all in with respect to the cases. I'm a little on the fence with respect to finishing decision. Yeah, I I don't know. I've got. I'm sort of caught between two places. On the one hand, I really, really like traditional watchmaking and the quality of it and the handmade watches and that all of that whole thing. But the cost is so high that if there's some way that you can cut costs without cutting the quality, I'm all for it. And I think the way that, what do they call it? AI, artificial intelligence. Problem with artificial intelligence right now, it's more the former and less of the latter. But still, they keep saying it's improving every day. Well, if you had something running, again, the new kind of processing. I forgot the name of it. This was right before I retired. I was looking into it. But right now, computing is basically based on a binary. And the quantum computing has 3 states. God knows how they do it. It was like they do it with vibrating electrons or something. And they have 3 states. It's on and off, just like a digital, but then they have both. There's something can be on and off at the same time, and how in the world you can read that. But what that does is that gives an exponential kind of processing power, my God. And so you plug that into artificial intelligence and you have something that would basically to the point you'd say, give me the same kind of finishing skills as Philippe Dufour and make it look just like that. The thing would do it for you. I don't know, man. Tradition, it's like, I don't know. There's the only thing, I think, the important thing about watchmaking, the reason that tradition becomes very important. Without it, everyone could go out and get an Apple smartwatch and be way ahead of the game as far not only as terms of accuracy, but all kinds of other stupid dog tricks an Apple Watch will do. My wife has one, and she talks into it sometimes like Dick Tracy. Always like, so people are quibbling about, oh, well, it's more accurate, so it's better by having a silicone hairspray. It's more accurate, but so was the quartz watch from the 1960s was more accurate. Anyway, tradition is one of those things. I think it's important, but I'm not sure why or how. Sort of, one good advice from Patek Philippe says you can start your own tradition. I think I will. I got to start my own tradition. If I think a tradition, that's good enough. I'm not looking for anything else. Okay, guys, let me finish up some of the last things here, and then I got to bounce. John Remy, what do you think about the 5K Patek? I don't know about that. There's a $5,000 or 5,000 Swiss franc Patek Philippe. I am not familiar with that at all. Even on the used market, it's hard to find one like that. Rhode Island, that's funny. Yeah. I think if it weren't for Rhode Island, Connecticut would be the smallest state. But we got Rhode Island. Rhode Island's it's a very interesting place. I've been in IT over 30 years myself, and quantum computing blows my mind. Me too, Andrew. Not just the concept, but the resources required to support it. It's, you know, it's like, Andrew, it reminds me of when computers were the size of first a room. When I first was in computing, we had a computer that was literally the full room, and then they made them smaller so they fit into a broom closet. And then with personal computers came along, but now, my God, so you look at these resource heavy kinds of things supporting um, quantum computing. But I think like the room full size computers down to the, something you can wear on your wrist, I, I have no reason to think that quantum computing isn't going to go the same way. And, I sort of, I like that part. That's sort of the non-traditional part. Yeah, Larique, you're right, Andrew. That's exactly right. John, keep cool, mighty hot. All the best. Take care, John. James, supposedly they are releasing a new 5K model. Boy, I want to find out about that. James, supposedly they are okay. Uh, hey, Canadian Watch Monkey. Right as we're closing the door, Canadian Watch Monkey makes it. Welcome. Hey, Jeffrey. Um, how about getting Moser center seconds for long term? Great watch. Great watch. I have sort of the one of the earlier ones was called the Benu, I think. And then they called it the Endeavor Center Seconds. Really great. Now, I think that the newer Moser Center Seconds, you have a choice. One, I think, would be the HMC 200, which is an automatic, and then one of the older ones that's hand wound and really nice. Yeah, making it home. Man, that storm was unbelievable. I tell you, I was telling our grandson, he's always got uh, his iPhone with him. He's always got that thing, always doing this and that. I said, "Did you get a video of that? You should have taken a video." And he goes, "Oh, what was I thinking? I was driving, so I had an excuse." Okay, last one, Andrew Enac, and the likes were insanely clever for their time. Oh yeah, yeah. I started at where I went to school. UC Santa Barbara was one of the first four that they had on the internet. It was UCLA, UC Santa Barbara, Stanford, and University of Utah. And I think that was back during the old DARPA days. But they developed all of the technology then, and it was in I think 1967 that they actually did it. The year before that, I used to type out on cards the program. Santa Barbara didn't have their own computer at the time, and so we had to send it down over the phone lines to UCLA, and they would process it, and then they would send this printout back on the library bus that ran between UCLA and I tell you, it's syntax error. Oh, okay, you start all over again. That was fun. Okay, all right. We'll get the last couple ones here. ARPANET, there you go. There was ARPANET and DARPANET. Um, I wish more brands used traditional decoration techniques like heat tempered hardware in different shades of blue. Yeah. Or jewels in sapphire, emerald, or clear. Rubies, they're not used. Those are man-made rubies, and they could easily make man-made sapphires or anything else too. So, okay, guys, this afternoon at 4 o'clock New York time, be back for another topic. As always, I will bug Rancher for a topic, come up with some ideas. As I can't even get on time. Lots of fun. Take care, everyone.